Look at headaches. A lot of people's headaches are due to the inability to bring the eyes in smoothly together to look at targets. Now, what causes this system to work properly is actually a few systems. But the major system that does that is called your vestibular system, particularly the translational VOR part of your vestibular system. But forget that, it's just your vestibular system. So to move our eyes, whether together like this or to look at a target, we actually utilize our vestibular system primarily to do that because the vestibular system is involved with detecting gravity and also with detecting motion. And so it's a driver of these types of things, so that if we look at a target off to the left, if you will, if we want to look at something, we typically don't just move our eyes. We move our head and our eyes to that target. And the reason for that is because it's more efficient. It's easier to do. And so if we have to do it quickly, we want to be able to do that. So to be able to move our head to the left, we use our vestibular system to do that. We fire down to our muscles of our neck, through our brain stem, and many indirect mechanisms, and we move our head to the neck. But we also need to detect like how much we moved and in relation to gravity. So when we're moving our head, that vestibular system is super active, or should be. In conjunction with that, it's also sending a signal to our visual system to also move our eyes. So that vestibular system and that visual motor system are hard linked. That means every time we affect our vestibular system, we affect our eyes. Every time we affect our eyes, we affect our vestibular system. So if I want to look quickly at something, I'm going to use both those systems. There's another system that's involved, and that's the neck. So the neck is involved in that, obviously. We're using muscles of the neck, we're using joints of the neck. And so those provide important feedback to the brain, and they also help us converge eyes through that indirect mechanism. Additionally, we're also sending information down to our autonomic nervous system because we need blood to do this, right? We need to give energy to any muscle or part of our brain or any structure to actually work or activate, so that that autonomic nervous system is also involved. Why this causes headaches is when there's a disruption in this system and the eyes don't move the right way, and they strain and they have to work like really hard to get to the target. So they're getting fatigued, they're getting tired faster, and that creates a compensation. When we start to feel that imbalance or that difficulty, we get that pain in our eyes, which can refer to headaches, but we also start to get we get a compensation from our neck muscles, because if we don't feel super balanced because the vestibular system and its visual system isn't working super well, then we're going to tighten things up. Let's say that your right vestibular system isn't doing so well. That right side of your neck may be tighter to compensate. And so, when we look at people with these types of things, they have tightness in your neck and problems in your neck, that's going to create headaches as well. And so if you start to look at where headaches come from, they're really primarily involved in this visual motor, vestibular, neck, proprioceptive system, and therefore autonomics or blood flow system in the lower brainstem, because that becomes involved. Additionally, we look at oxygenation and breathing, because that is really important in the storyline of this, because if you can't expand your ribs, or your thoracic posture is really poor, then you're going to put pressure, and you're going to change the angulation of your neck and change the angulation of where your vestibular system is sitting in relation to gravity, causing it to compensate and not be very accurate. So that's going to disrupt visual motor movement, thus cause headache and all of the mechanisms we just talked about. Now, what's really important to grasp here is that your vestibular system needs to be accurate. Your vestibular system needs to have precise, fast detection of movement in relation to your neck and your body, but also in relation to gravity. And those are really important. And you start to see people with dizziness and lightheadedness when they stand up, because this vestibular system is not detecting movement very well in relation to gravity. You're not detecting that you're standing up, so it's not firing down to your to your autonomic nervous system to say, hey, we're starting to stand up, pump more blood to our brain, because blood is dropping as we stand due to gravity pulling it down. So as we start to stand up, that system should be firing really efficiently. If not, then what's happening is we're not getting good blood flow to the brain. And so we start to get dizzy or lightheaded, and maybe get head pressure or headaches. And so there's another way that we start to get headaches is from this autonomic system not getting good blood flow to the brain, creating headaches and migraines and all these types of things, dizziness and vertigo and all these other things that can accompany it. But when you get back to it, it really all starts from this connection between the neck, the vestibular system, the inner ear, and the brain stem. It's a network, so that's not just in the inner ear, it's the brain stem and the rest of the brain. In the visual motor system, our eye movements, not our eye acuity, but our eye movements. Our acuity is only as good as our ability to turn the eyes to the target. So if we can't get the eyes to the target, who cares how good you can see? You know what I mean? So you have to be able to turn to the target to be able to see the target. That's where that acuity comes in. So this inner ear, this brain stem, the visual system, and your neck, as well as this autonomic nervous system, are really always, not always, but typically the culprits, and we get into this breathing, of your headaches. And so what we're able to do is go in and evaluate these systems and see where the messages are being affected or inaccurate, and then we correct those messages. We strengthen the neurological systems, and we strengthen how they communicate together. And what that does is that eliminates most people's headaches and migraines. And this comes from a specific functional neurology approach in how we look at the brain and the body together, and how we look at communication and health of these systems. Not, if you look at an MRI, those systems are structurally normal. It's not going to show this type of stuff. What we need to do is to be able to evaluate these systems in how well they're working, how well they're talking to each other, how well they're signaling, not how well they sit in the brain. And that we do through specialized eye movement testing, video nystagmography, specialized balance testing, specialized other neurological testing, tilt table testing, all kinds of different tests that we can do to specifically understand how well is your brain working, how well are these systems working, and how well are they working together. That's what makes a healthy, functioning human without symptoms, not necessarily just, no, we looked at your MRI, it's normal, must be in your head. That's not what happens. It is in your head, but not in the way that people think.